So these are the 10 Naruto fights that hit completely differently depending on whether you watched the anime or read the manga. We're going through each one, breaking down what changed, and deciding which version actually did it better, and we're doing this in chronological order. Let's get into it. Fight number 1, Sasuke versus Orochimaru, your Forest of Death. Sasuke versus Orochimaru in the Forest of Death. In the manga, this exchange is short and sharp. Sasuke attaches wires to a shuriken, baits Orochimaru in, and blasts his face off with a fire dragon jutsu. That's it. The real face of Orochimaru reveals itself from behind Shiori's, and the moment lands hard precisely because it's quick. The anime stretches it out, and for once, that's actually a good thing. They add a full taijutsu exchange before any of that. Sasuke's swinging on wires between trees, they're zigzagging around each other, and the whole thing flows really well. The fire style jutsu also gets upgraded. Instead of just hitting Orochimaru's face, it engulfs his entire body and shatters the tree behind him. Winner. Anime. The added exchange makes the fight feel earned, and the animation on that taijutsu section is genuinely impressive for its time. Next up, Neji versus Naruto in the Chunin Exams. This one doesn't change dramatically, but the anime does add a few extra taijutsu exchanges, mostly Neji dealing with Naruto's shadow clones, nothing groundbreaking. There's even one clone exchange that the animators clearly just lifted straight from Cowboy Bebop. That's not a bit, they actually did that. Now, if those additions made the fight tighter, fine, but the Naruto versus Neji fight already had stretched flashbacks in the anime. Padding it further just makes a long fight even longer. Hiruzen versus Orochimaru is one of the more interesting cases because the changes go both ways. The anime adds a lot, extra ninjutsu and taijutsu exchanges, especially between Hiruzen and the reanimated Hashirama and Tobirama. One standout moment is Hashirama sliding across the water while Hiruzen blasts fire at him, until Hashirama closes the gap and drives him into the ground. That's not in the manga. It's a great addition. But then there's the change that actually bothers me. In the manga, it's Hashirama who casts the Bringer of Darkness Genjutsu. In the anime, they reassigned it to Tobirama. The reasoning is pretty obvious. They probably felt Tobirama wasn't doing enough, so they gave him something. But canonically, that's Hashirama's jutsu, and it should be his. It makes him feel like a true god of shinobi, someone who doesn't just dominate in ninjutsu and taijutsu, but in genjutsu too. Changing that takes something away from him. Fight number 4, Rock Lee versus Kimimaro Drunk Lee. This one is wild. In the manga, both fighters are just standing there in a neutral position when Lee casually takes his medicine. It feels natural. In the anime, Kimimaro is literally about to cut Lee down and then stops because Lee politely asks him to wait while he drinks. Why would Kimimaro do that? Why would he just pause mid-kill because his opponent asked nicely? It's a little odd, but once Lee is drunk, the anime goes absolutely crazy. There are so many new taijutsu exchanges, it's almost a different fight. The moment where Lee is completely asleep, Kimimaro stabbing at him repeatedly with a bone dagger, and Lee dodging every single one without even waking up, then snapping awake and immediately headbutting him. That entire sequence is not in the manga. The manga's drunk Lee section is actually pretty short. The anime just runs with it, makes it funnier, more chaotic, and honestly more entertaining. This is the big one. The Valley of the End fight is dramatically different in the anime, and there are a lot of reasons why, starting with the flashback structure. In the manga, the Itachi flashback kicks in early and runs for 5 to 6 chapters straight, no cutting back to the fight. You just read the whole thing, then return to the action. In the anime, they intercut glimpses of Naruto and Sasuke fighting throughout the flashback to keep the audience from checking out during 3 episodes of backstory. That's why so many of those extra exchanges exist. They're basically there to break up the flashback pacing. Now that explains why the changes are there. It doesn't mean all of them land. The famous 6-hit combo Naruto deals on Sasuke, not in the manga. The hundreds of shadow clones torpedo launching out of the water at Sasuke doesn't exist in the manga. The mid-air grappling sequence where Naruto eventually tosses Sasuke into the wall, the manga has Naruto toss him into the wall, but it's way more straightforward. Just a tackle, not a whole aerial sequence. Sasuke slamming Naruto headfirst into the ground right before the one-tail cloak activates, also added. In the manga, they're standing on the wall of the valley itself when Sasuke unlocks the third Tomoe and that whole tense conversation plays out. In the anime, they're somehow balanced on floating logs above the water. I understand it's a stylistic choice, but the physics of that are just questionable. And then there's the Shadow Clone Ladder. In the anime, it's this massive structure of 100 clones that Naruto uses while already powered by Ninetales chakra. In the manga, it's a 5-clone ladder, and Naruto actually anchors himself by piercing a kunai into Madara's statue to swing the whole thing at Sasuke. It's smaller, but the 2-page spread of it looks incredible. And then Sasuke using that same ladder like a wire for his dragon flame. That's an anime original idea, and it's genuinely brilliant. I'll give them that one. Fight number 6, Naruto and Sakura versus Kakashi. Shippuden Bell Test. Quick one here. In the manga, Sakura punches the ground, revealing Kakashi underneath, and then we cut away to Gaara versus Deidara. When we return, the Bell Test is basically already at the finish line. Naruto threatens to spoil Kakashi's novel. Kakashi covers his eyes and ears to avoid the spoiler, and they win. The anime fills in everything in between. Shadow Clone Army. Kakashi using Primary Lotus, Water Dragon Jutsu, Fireball Jutsu, a Sasuke illusion that Sakura has to break. None of it is in the manga. Fight number 7, Team Guy versus their doppelgangers. And here's where things go wrong. In the manga, Team Guy fighting their doppelgangers is a handful of pages, brief glimpses, while more important things, mainly Sakura and Chio versus Sasori, are happening in parallel. It's treated as the inconsequential delay tactic it is. In the anime, they stretch it into multiple full episodes of some of the worst animation in the entire series. We know these fights have no stakes. We know nobody's dying to their own copy. We know this is just Team Guy being stalled, and yet the anime dedicates episode after episode to it, paced like it matters. It's one of the main reasons people who only watch the anime tend to dislike the Kazekage rescue arc. This fight actively kills the momentum of what is otherwise a genuinely strong arc. Fight number 8, Kakashi and Naruto versus Deidara. Kazekage rescue arc, same problem, just slightly less painful. Kakashi and Naruto chasing Deidara gets dragged out in the anime because Sasori and Sakura's fight is still ongoing and they need to kill time. There are a few interesting additions. Kakashi dealing with clay grasshoppers is kind of cool, but the chase just goes on and on without much happening. At least Deidara isn't a Katsuki member. At least Kakashi using Kamui is a significant moment. It's not as bad as the doppelganger fight because there's something worth watching here, but it still suffers from the same pacing problem. Fight number 9, Hidan and Kakuzu versus Asuma's team. Akatsuki Suppression Arse. A few interesting changes scattered through this one. The biggest addition is the Izumo and Kotetsu versus Kakuzu section. In the manga, Kakuzu handles them in a couple of pages. Done. In the anime, they actually get a real sequence, especially Kotetsu's flying sword, which circles around trying to find an opening on Kakuzu from every angle before he shuts it down completely. It makes two Chunin look more capable than they probably should against an Akatsuki member, but it's entertaining. Then there's Aoba showing up and getting a full taijutsu exchange against Kakuzu and somehow holding his own. That absolutely does not happen in the manga, but honestly, it makes Aoba look like a legend, so no complaints. The other notable addition is Asuma using the 1,000 arm technique, this spiritual image of 1,000 arms erupting behind him to pummel Hidan. Very clearly inspired by Hashirama's 1,000-arm Buddha, just smaller and without the wood. Doesn't exist in the manga at all. Last one, Kakashi and Shikamaru versus Kakuzu, and this one has some genuinely good additions buried in it. In the manga, Kakuzu overpowers Kakashi fairly quickly, and just before he takes Kakashi's heart, Shikamaru saves him at the last second by forcing Hidan to sacrifice one of Kakuzu's hearts through his shadow bind. It's clean. It works. In the anime, Kakashi actually trades blows with Kakuzu and holds his own for a while. He pulls out a Primary Lotus Kakuzu substitutes with a water clone. The whole sequence is well animated and makes Kakashi feel strong, which isn't wrong, but the manga version does make his eventual struggle feel more dramatic. There's also a moment where Shikamaru uses a scroll to flood the battlefield with water, so Kakuzu shocks himself with his own lightning heart. That doesn't happen in the manga, and it's fine, but it does make Kakuzu look a bit careless for one of the most calculated fighters in the series. Then again, this is also the same guy who loses to Naruto because he gets fooled by 3 shadow clones used as a distraction. Twice. So maybe Kakuzu just has that one massive blind spot. So that's 10 Naruto fights broken down. Which fight do you think the anime handled better or worse? Drop it in the comments, and if you want more deep dives like this, subscribe, we've got plenty more coming. See you in the next one.